Hey kids, it's Mr. Fly here, hope you're well. Well, it's just like old times. Hey Kids is back. I'm back out on a Honda CRF. What a great day to be riding. It's a beautiful day, a little bit chilly. Got my heated kit on, just to try and stave off this 2 degrees centigrade. But yeah, pretty excited because today, as you may have gathered, I'm on the Honda CRF300L, a bike that I've been itching to ride for some time. I don't know why I haven't got round to it sooner. And it's a bike that I feel that I should know pretty well because, of course, if you've been following the channel over the past few years, you'll know that I owned a CRF300L, the forerunner to this bike, for about 5 years. I sold it last year. So really interested to see what the differences are on this bike. So if you're interested in the CRF300L, stick around, stay tuned. I'll tell you what I think of it. Okay, so the CRF300L then, very similar of course to the 250L that was its predecessor, as I say, and that was a bike I knew well. I've got loads of videos on my channel about that bike. I'll stick a link in the corner to my playlist, which is all about living with that. And I suspect a lot of what I talk about on the videos on that playlist will hold true for the 300, because it's basically just an updated version of the 250. The big changes for it are, obviously, an increase in power capacity. It's gone from a 250 to a 300, and I thought I may not notice any difference. In terms of power, it's gone from something like, I'll go through all the detailed spec in a minute when I do the walk around, but it's gone from something like 23 horsepower to 27, something like that. So it's not going to break any speed records, but I didn't think I would notice too much difference. But I suppose that 4 horsepower, when you're looking at a bike that was only 23 in the first place, is a reasonable percentage, isn't it? It's maybe, what's that, about a 15% uplift if my maths is sort of loosely right, something like that. And on a low power bike you do notice it, and I've already noticed it. As soon as I jumped on this, I thought, yeah, this definitely feels more pokey than my 250 did. A few other changes as well for the bike. They've made it 4 kilograms lighter by making some changes to the chassis of the bike, and the swing arm as well is slightly different and makes it a bit lighter. It was already a light bike as far as I'm concerned. Not light for a trails bike, but light for a normal road bike, which is what I'm used to riding. The CRF is just a brilliant bike if you fancy doing some light green lanes, getting used to a bit of off-roading. If you're a beginner at that sort of thing, it's a great way to start because the CRF is very easy to live with. You know, it has normal service intervals. You're not talking about servicing it every 50 hours of running. It's every 6,000 miles or something like that. So it makes it very easy to live with, and a great introduction to off-roading. Oh, hello ladies. Good morning. The day's getting better all the time. So if you fancy dabbling with a little bit of green laning, that sort of thing, then the CRF is a great place to start. I think it's a visor down day. I thought I'd be a bit more personal and prove to you that I can ride without glasses. I've got my contact lens in, but it is a bit nippy out here today. Anyway, what are the other changes? Yeah, they've slimmed down the bodywork a little bit. Of course, it's gained ABS over the bike that I had. That's come in since. Mine, I think, was a 2014 model. This is the 2022 model year. So it's got ABS, and the good news is it is switchable. Hello on the scooter, not a nodder, obviously not an enthusiast. So yeah, there's a little button here now that says ABS on it. You can turn that off for when you want to go off-road, which is rather splendid. Which way shall I go? Let's go down here for a change. It's now got a slipper clutch as well, so when you bang her down the box in a haphazard manner like that, there's no lurching. That's brilliant, that works a treat. And again, if you're relatively new to riding single thumpers, that's a definite help. And there are a few other little detailed changes I'll show you in a minute when we have a look around the bike. In fact, let me show you them now. Okay, so of course there are lots of spec changes, and we'll go through those spec changes when I do the walk around in a minute, but let me show you the sort of cosmetic changes on the bike between this and the old CRF250L that I'm so familiar with. First off, we've got these new body panels on here. These are a bit narrower apparently, although they don't look it to me particularly, but certainly we've got some more graphics on here, some different graphics that I like actually, coming all the way down here now, which I think look pretty smart. On the old bike it was a little bit plain, and I ended up having to, you know, put a lot of stickers on mine to make it look a bit more interesting. But I think this one, as it comes out of the box, looks all right anyway in this new livery, so that's all pretty cool. There's that new swing arm, which is now tapered and saves a little bit of weight as well. The lights on here, the same at the rear end, but the front now we've got an LED light, I think. I know it's a bulb one, but it's slightly redesigned, so that's a different looking setup. We've got that ABS button here that I pointed out on the ride, which allows you to switch it off when you're going off-road, and we've got a slightly upgraded LCD display here. I can't really notice too much different on here. We've got the rev counter on the top, which I think the old 250 had, and a proper fuel gauge as well, which is always good to see, as well as a gear position indicator as well. So all good stuff there. Nothing else new there, I don't think. We've got a new fuel cap, looks a bit more rugged than the old one. The old one had a chromed fuel cap, that looks better. There's a bit of redesign gone to the tank here, which also looks better to my mind. What else to show you? What else can I spot that looks different to the old 250? Back end looks the same, tools go in there. We've got a helmet lock there as well, which is quite handy for just sticking your helmet on if you're leaving the bike unattended. Exhaust looks the same. We've got a red spring in there now. I don't think the 250 had a red spring. Something I did notice was the gear knob down here. Look, this is now a bit more stubby to make it better to use when you've got big off-road boots. You can just not catch your foot on it so much. But I think that's about it for the cosmetic changes, or the extra travel suspension as well. The front end does look a bit longer actually. Might just be me imagining it, but it looks cool. Anyway, nice looking bike. Really like the CRF. We'll jump back on, ride some more. So those are the cosmetic changes. We'll go through the spec in a minute when we do the walk around in the usual way. But other than that, the bike feels, of course, very, very familiar to me. It's a comfortable place to be. You're sat nice and upright, you've got these wide handlebars. It's dead comfy. Your knees feel like they're at 90 degrees. In reality, looking down, they're a little bit more acute than that, but it is a comfy place to be. The mirrors work a treat on here. They're like barn doors, these mirrors, but they don't vibrate at all. Given it is a single cylinder thumper, this bike, the mirrors work really well. Just going to check the brakes in a second. This is of course a brand new bike on brand new tyres, and it is a bit damp on the roads, as you can see, so be a little bit careful. Front brake, oh yeah, it works really well. Back brake, not a lot there, but that is the case on many motorcycles, isn't it? But handy for using off-road. Door to comfort, the seat itself, it's got this sort of slabby bench seat on it, which couldn't be described as soft. It's certainly not uncomfortable. It feels exactly the same as my old 250L, and I did many miles on that. And if you need any other proof, of course, of being able to do long journeys on a CRF, then just watch my friend Norley, Itchy Boots.
Hey kids, it's the Miss and the Fly here. I hope you're well.
She's been riding on some massive rides on her CRF. She's had the 250L, and now she's got the 300L, the rally version, which is a similar bike to this, but comes with a windscreen and some more bodywork, as well as a larger fuel tank. That was one of the complaints I always had about my CRF. The fuel tank capacity was quite low, and it still is on this bike. Again, I'll talk you through the specs in a second. In terms of controls on the bike, it's all very simple. This is a nice and simple bike to understand. There's no riding modes or fancy electronics. It's just got the stuff you need. Lovely handling. I've forgotten how light feeling the CRF is. It's great. So yeah, switch gear, all very simple. Nothing really to describe here. Start, stop, hazard lights, kill switch, indicators lights on that side. Not too sure where I'm going. I think I might go back down the way I've just come actually. A little bit careful on these roundabouts. Always give me the heebie-jeebies on roundabouts this time of year. Always looking for that sort of hazy, crazy colour scheme where sometimes vehicles slosh some diesel off and it makes them slippery, and on these knobbly tyres I want to be a bit careful. But I have to say, I'm not feeling frightened. It might be because the bike feels so familiar to me. These tyres feel okay on the road. They are knobbly looking, but yeah, grip seems alright. The engine sounds great on here. If anything, it sounds a little bit louder than the old 250. I don't know if they've changed that at all, but it's got a satisfying noise about it. What's the ride like? The suspension? Well, the suspension on here is pretty basic, of course. It's got a bit more travel than it used to have. I think it's got 30mm more travel than the old bike, but I'm not sure how much travel it had anyway. Just gives it a bit more ground clearance, again, for if you're doing the green lane thing. But in terms of riding on the roads, I use my old CRF mostly for riding around lanes like this. It's just a fun bike for riding around through the winter months, actually. And yeah, the ride perfectly comfortable. I would neither describe it as firm nor too soft. It's absolutely fine. Non-adjustable as a suspension on here. Again, this is quite a good value for money bike. So we're not expecting any expensive suspension, and it hasn't got that, but it's perfectly adequate. It doesn't feel uncomfortable at all. It doesn't feel like my fillings are going to be jarred out. I like it a lot. Alright, let's whiz up to my favourite walk around spot, and I'll talk you through the Spec in the usual way. Alright, slight problem in that my helmet cam has packed up, so I can't do the walk around in the way that I normally would and talk you through the Spec, but I'll do it instead here on my phone camera. So let me see if I can fiddle the lens around the other way. Hang on a second. There you go, hopefully you can see that. Splendid looking bike, the CRF, hopefully you'll agree. Let me talk you through the Spec then in the usual way. I've written down the details so I don't forget anything. Here we go, here's the engine, 286cc single cylinder liquid cooled unit now, and it's putting out 20.1 kilowatts of power. If you don't know what that is, that's at 8,500 RPM, by the way. That's about 27 brake horsepower, apparently, according to my Googling anyway. And as I mentioned, it's only about 4 brake horsepower up on the old bike, but I did notice the difference immediately when I rode it, so that does make a difference. Torque figures for this, 26.5 newton meters of torque at 6,500 RPM. That's 19.5 foot-pounds in the old money. So not a stupidly powerful bike by any means, but perfect for a bit of light green laning and just normal road riding around the lanes like I've been doing today. Let's check out the brakes. On the front here, we've got a 265mm pedal disc, as you can see. It's got a 2-pot caliper on it. And if we go around to the back end, you'll see that we've got a single pot caliper. That's on a 220mm disc. And you can see the ABS ring on there as well now, because of course this bike has ABS, as I mentioned. Suspension wise, don't know what the travel is on here now, but the front end certainly looks taller than on the old 250. It's a 30mm more travel than it used to have, apparently. No adjustment there, but it works absolutely fine. Seat height on here is quite high at 880mm. That's 5mm higher than the old bike. I'm only 5'8" myself. I can get my feet down on the deck, no problems on this though, even though that does sound high. It is a nice and narrow bike. The seat is nice and narrow at the waist, as you can see. Curb weight of this, 142 kilograms, which to me makes it a light bike when you're comparing it to normal road bikes, that is. Of course, compared to specialist trails bikes, it's not particularly light, but I find that absolutely fine. That's 142 kilograms wet as well, so nice and light to me anyway. The tank capacity on here, 7.8 litres. Something that I always used to complain about on my old 250L was the tank didn't have quite enough range, and this isn't changed. If you want more range, you have to go for the rally version that's got a bigger tank. One of the advantages of that particular bike over the 250L. Electronics wise, nothing really. The LCD display, as I mentioned, and the ABS. And price wise, you're looking at $5,149 for one of these, which I think is an absolute bargain. So there we are, that's the Honda CRF300L. It's an absolutely cracking little bike. It's been really great fun to get reacquainted again with the motorcycle. If you're interested in learning a bit of green laning stuff or a bit of light off-roading, then you can do a lot worse than getting yourself a CRF300L. Great bikes, and as I said, I've got plenty of videos on the predecessor, the 250, which is basically the same bike, albeit with a lesser engine. If you want to learn more about it, go and check those videos out. All right, that's it for this time. Hope you enjoyed that. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button if you've not done so before. That way I can see you in the next video, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Mist and Fly. Cheerio.